All right, this first video is going to take you through some hopefully review material of solving exponential and log equations. If you're solving an exponential equation, you are either going to break down the equation if possible, or you can take the log or ln of both sides. All right, so our first equation, I see 125 and 25. I mean, you can think about this. I'm going to do this off to the side. I don't think a lot of you are going to need to do it this way, but if you break it down into factor tree format, 125 is the same as 5 cubed, and 25 is the same as 5 squared. Making sure to keep your exponents in parentheses. And then if you can do it this way, once you have the same base, you set your exponents equal. And solve. So I'm not showing out some of the solving steps. I think you guys can handle that. Now our other scenario is when you can't break them down. So 3 would be as much as you can break that down. 6 would break down into 3 times 2, but they're not the same values. So your other option here would be to take the log of both sides, or ln. It actually really doesn't matter which one you choose because both are doable in your calculator. And then I'm going to put these exponents in parentheses. We're going to use our exponent rule, which we've gone over already. Bring that in front, or multiply it by the logarithm because that's really what the rule says. And then it's a little bit of manipulation work. I'm going to look for you to give me the exact and the approximate answer on these. So with exact, I'm going to make this x log 6 plus 4 log 6 equals x times log 3 minus 2 log 3. And then your goal here, when you're solving for x, is to combine your x's and combine your numbers. So that's going to involve some subtraction. I'm going to put the everything with x on this side, so I'll subtract x log 3 from both sides, and then I will subtract 4 log 6 from both sides. I'm not showing that step. I'm kind of doing 2 steps in one. Once you have that completed, you can factor out the x from the left side. And divide. So this is requiring you to do some algebraic manipulation. I think that's an important skill that you definitely need to practice in your pre-calc class, getting you ready for calculus. So this is a really good time to take advantage of these problems. This is your exact answer. And then you can plug that in your calculator to get your approximate. Depending on the version of your calculator, I think most of you are going to be able to use that alpha y equals tool, so I would go with that in this scenario. Then you don't have to worry about too much parentheses wise. You can just put it all in one shot. If you do have to use parentheses, I would type in the numerator, hit enter, then hit divide, and then just make sure that your denominator all goes in parentheses. And you have to be careful because each logarithm brings up a new parentheses. So I just threw in some extra parentheses there so you can see that. All right, so I'm just going to do a few more examples. I think the next 3 you can actually break down into the same base. And then we'll stop the video after we get to 5. So you can kind of digest this information before we move on to some more practice. All right, so we're just throwing in some exponent rules here. If you have a fraction on one side and not the other, use your negative exponent rule. So make this 2 to the negative x. And then I can right away break this 16 down. And hopefully you don't really need to show this off to the side, but if it's something bigger that you're not sure about, you can definitely do that. This would be 2 to the 4th times the 3x plus 1. And you need these to be on the same line. So that's why and also the same actual base. So that's why using the negative exponent rule helps with that. Now we can set our exponents equal. and finish up our solving work. And let's do two more, some different exponent rules as well. So that was the negative exponent rule. Here I'm multiplying two things with the same base. So we're going to add the exponents. And then while doing that, 49 is the same as 7 squared, so break that down. So just like our other units, we've pulled back in quadratics a lot. That's an important skill that you want to keep fresh. So this is something that we can factor, and then we get two answers. Now for exponential, all your answers that you get will work. When we get to logarithms and we switch back over to some of our log equations, you do have to make sure you check your answers. And I think in all of these problems, you can plug this stuff in the calculator to check your answers. Definitely a good idea to do it. And our last one, we'll throw in some with radicals. So remember, with a radical, it's the same as a fraction exponent of 1 over. So that's 4 to the 1/3 times 2 to the 1/2 equals, this will be 2 to the 3rd. Although I am going to change over the other one next. So this would be 2 to the 2/3, 2 times 1/3, 2 to the 1/2. And then you might want to do some of this work off to the side, just so you're not doing it within the problem. We're going to be adding those exponents together, 2/3 plus 1/2. So really we want to make that into 4/6 plus 3/6. So we get 2 to the 7/6 equals 2 to the 3x minus 9. And then you would solve from there. And you will have the use of your calculator for all of this, so I mean, you probably wouldn't even need to do this off to the side. You should be able to do that, but you do have the nice fraction tool, so that may not be necessary. All right, so those are just some examples. Again, a lot of this should be review stuff, and then the next lesson after we do this, all of these examples will add in some new elements to this solving.